Well, I mean, okay. You want it to be funny, right?
Yeah, of course I do.
All right. Why is 6 afraid of 7?
Why is 6 afraid of 7?
Yeah. Oh, that was your question part. Sorry. Okay.
To answer. Oh my God, this is a disaster. Answer the question. I'm waiting on you.
I don't know. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Double Dip Draft, Season 6, Week 5?
4.
4. Sorry. It's been long going. I'm Cabral, coach of the Hashing Age Sashers. Joining me today is...
Food, coach of the Southtown Sand Slatchers.
Today we are taking a look at the Pearl Division with a bit of an exception this week. Had some stuff come up that we'll be probably going over more in Week 5's analysis, but this week we only have 3 matches to look at for the Pearl Division. Do you want to share some insight on that, Cody?
Yeah, I like you said, we'll jump into more detail next week because that's kind of when we'll have more stuff to chew on. But we had 2 dropouts this Week 4 across the league, and one of those dropouts was in fact in this division. So we are saying goodbye to the Pink Am Persians. Lynn will be replaced going forward with Trash Panda of the San Fran Furrets. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, Lynn actually, we're recording this, I believe, the Monday after, and Lynn did not end up playing her match versus Aurora, so Trash Panda now has to play that match in her stead. But of course, he's entitled to a certain amount of free agent trades, and obviously he can't just jump in and do like a day 1 match, and then Aurora will need to have time to retool her team to accommodate the new draft picks on his team, and it's just a whole thing. So basically, because Lynn had to drop out, we're missing a match this week because she didn't fight Aurora.
Yeah, so next week we'll be doing 2 matches and also giving you an analysis of the San Fran Furrets team.
That's correct. We're going to get the draft analysis and 5 matches. So next week's Pearl Division is going to be real thick.
Yeah, for sure. On top of that, by the way, I think it's so interesting. Aurora's getting pushed back again for her match the week after it's supposed to have happened.
Yeah.
So happened Week 1, now it's happening Week.
That is 4. True. Yeah, and it's not been her fault either time, which is kind of funny. Aurora continues to have to wait. She also, I will say, I'll let you in on a little bit of a secret. Oh. Aurora has a difficult time versus Week 1 players. She struggled versus Levin. Her Week 1 versus Dogmaster way back in the day, she also lost it. And I don't know, she lost her Week 1 this season versus Vincent. So Aurora has a bit of a slow start on Week 1, and I think we're about to find out if that slow start extends to other people's Week 1s or not.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely wait and see. But who's not on their Week 1 matches? Our first match of Week 4.
Why don't you tell me who's in it?
Well, you got Fireball 1, 2, 4, 6 of the Minnesota Magikarps. And you also have Totally Not Spookman of the Heerlen Hawluchas.
Yup, this was a big one. Kind of. It's basically, at this point, Spookman is keeping his differential relatively tight versus people he's beating.
Also, no losses so far.
No losses so far, that's right. I believe he's the only one in the whole division who's, at this point in time, 3-0
yes.
Going into this match. And so, completely undefeated. Firebolt, great player, but Vincent, I think, is kind of a caliber above. Would be a big upset for Firebolt to pull. He's pulled bigger before. He has beaten IDM. Let's not forget. But Vincent right now looking like he is on the warpath and doesn't really show any intention of stopping. The one silver lining to that is that his matches versus both Aurora and Nick were really close. and so his differential is not quite as inflated as the other undefeated players in the other divisions. And so Firebolt is kind of put in an even more untenable position, where if he loses to Vincent, like, yeah, sure, you can kind of throw that away. Vincent is essentially the top seed of the division right now. But if you get 6-0'd or like 5-0'd by Vincent, then you're kind of in trouble because you're losing differential compared to your peers who were able to bring him relatively close to losing.
Yeah, and not just that. This division, Pearl Division, as we've said before in the previous weeks, is still mix and match across the board. Anyone just under Vincent, it's still up for grabs for playoffs, even from people as low as 7th in the league right now, in the division.
Yeah. Yep. All the way. I mean, it's in any order you could find 2nd place through 7th place winding up in playoffs.
Yeah.
And that makes the differential so much more important.
It really does. So
for everybody.
Keeping it close is very ideal for matches like this, even if you do lose. Even if Vincent goes undefeated the whole time, keeping his diff low is still just really nice. And keeping your diff higher rather than lower is also just really ideal going into this, because every point, I think, until like week 6 is going to matter for differential in this this playoff division. I
mean, all the way to the last week, I'm sure, to be honest. I think as we approach the twilight of the season, we're going to start seeing it really intense, like, pining for that, like, oh, I need to win by 1 more Pokemon, 2 more Pokemon. Especially because we'll touch on it when we get to the last match of this week, but there are certain patterns emerging in terms of players' performance. And if a pattern emerges and you're not on the favorable end of it, then I don't know, you might find yourself losing a little more than you bargained for on a match. So for Firebolt, unfortunately, this has now become a higher stakes match than just, oh, if I lose, whatever. It is now, if I lose, I can't lose that hard, or I'm going to start falling behind.
Yeah. And with that being said, let's go ahead and take a gander at how this match plays out, because I think we've been talking people's ears off long enough.
Yep, all right, I'm done yapping. Let's start watching.
Miltank lead makes sense. Does a lot. Body press so good.
Yep.
Fireball just getting off those rocks.
Ridiculous move.
Because looking at Vincent's team here, no real way to get rid of rocks or anything unless running Rapid Spin on Miltank, but I don't think so. That lived.
I don't know. That lived, but not for long. No. See ya. They are ostensibly a speed tie. It could have been a Scarf Drapion, I don't know, but it is definitely a Scarf Lele, and I think at this point Vincent knows.
Yeah, that's doing nothing to this thing.
Yep. Frogs endure, and unfortunately for Firebolt, Vincent catches on immediately because a similar thing happened with Doodle last week, where it was a Custap Berry set. Now that was a sturdy Custap Berry and not Endeavor, like Endure Custap Berry, but Firebolt going for kind of the same deal.
Yeah. Stuck with rocks though. Unfortunate that I don't know if he has Rapid Spin, but that would have been really nice to play because at 1% Miltank always clicks on Milk Drink. Yeah,
that's a thing where, like, it's hard to tell, but if you're Firebolt, you can just keep spamming Endeavor, but then there's more Milk Drinks than you have Endeavors, and I don't know, there's angles on it. There was no objectively correct move, but if he did have Rapid Spin, it would have been good. I think Firebolt's biggest blunder in this match is going hard into Gastrodon after, instead of, like, switching in on, like, a Behemoth Bash, where it would have eaten, like, super duper well. Unfortunately, he just, sacks it to Gardevoir without being willing to. The thing is, he doesn't have boots, he doesn't have hazard removal on Turtonator, so I think he could have just sacked Turtonator there to see what the Gardevoir was going to do and get around it.
Yep.
And also here, same deal, he shouldn't have risked getting knocked off from his Choice Scarf when he had this as a switch-in.
Yeah, definitely the case.
Because you'll see here, after an Intimidate, it lives Rocks plus Knock plus Close Combat with, a decent amount of health left over. Mm-hmm. So he could have hard switched in.
Yeah, definitely could have. Healing Wish coming out, love it. It's basically just there for Zamazenta, because Zamazenta has no way to heal itself, and other than Wish on Miltank, not a lot of clerics on this team, and at this point, with Firebolt's health and where everything is, not much he can do against Zamazenta.
Yeah. But at least, I was going to say, at least for Firebolt, that's only a 2-0. And that's really important, because again, if Firebolt got totally wiped, he would have started falling behind, but since he brought it close the same way that the others did, Firebolt's still looking decent.
Yeah.
But, I mean, really, aside from that, there's not much to say about Vincent that hasn't already been said. Zamazenta is ridiculous. His draft is ridiculous. His record at the moment, pretty ridiculous, pretty consistent. I think we can basically rest assured that Vincent prevails in this division. Not just advancing to playoffs, but almost certainly getting the bye.
You know what else is ridiculous?
Man, you're so greedy.
A little bit.
Can I introduce for once?
Oh, no, you can't. I was actually just going to say, I was not going to introduce them. What I was going to say is it is actually insane that Vaporeon is still one of the top kill leaders.
Actually, I have not even been keeping track of the stats.
No, I was going to introduce. I was literally going to say that. I'm like, who does have Vaporeon, Cody?
So I thought you were going to just like snipe it out from underneath me.
I would never snipe it from you. That's next week.
That's not true. That's not true.
That's
There's
next week.
Video evidence that you've sniped this from me already multiple times. I feel a little hurt, and I'm keeping my cards close to my chest.
Oh.
Andrew, this is Mass of the Minneapolis Magnezones fighting White Loaf of the Loafville Lanturns. Okay?
Yeah.
This is another big important match.
It is.
Mass is currently 2-1, having lost to Vincent, I think, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And having beaten Doodled and
Fireball.
Lynn, I think?
That is correct. Yeah, Lynn.
Yeah, sounds correct to me.
Versus Lynn beat Nick is what it is.
No, Lynn beat Fireball.
Oh, Lynn beat Fireball?
Fireball beat Nick, yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. Sorry, the circle, the triangle.
There's a lot of circle, yeah, it's tough to keep track of. The thing is, right now, White Loaf kind of having a cooking season. He's going into this 2-1, but Mass also going into this 2-1. So it's one of those tie record games where someone is going to put themselves much further ahead, and someone else is going to get left kind of in a middling position. But right now, I mean, even a 2-2 is going to be enough to float you deeper into the season. Unfortunately, again, fortunately for me as a spectator, unfortunately for the players in Pearl, no one is really going to be safe except for Vincent until week 7.
Yeah.
So you need to, every match is so important, especially matches against people who you're fighting for these playoff spots against. And whoever wins this one, I would say, is looking really good for playoffs.
Yeah, I definitely agree to that. And they have quite a... Hold on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their Pokemon lineup is actually really fun against each other. Jolteon does a lot of work against Mass.
Yeah. The mascot? Shouts out to Jolteon versus Vaporeon.
Yep.
Yeah, Jolteon, I mean, kind of ironically, Jolteon can't necessarily easily break Vaporeon. Vaporeon's just so chunky, and Jolteon just doesn't hit that hard.
Yeah.
But Jolteon is definitely kind of a menace to this team once Dugtrio's dead, because it can then freely Volt Switch around because it's so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Other things to consider, White Loaf can, depending on Gengar's set, handle it quite well with Mega Absol. Druddigon doesn't get a lot going, but it can do an okay job counter leading. Mass definitely brought as many Rillaboom checks as he has.
Yeah, he does not like Rillaboom. Mm-hmm. One of the things is he only has like 1 or 2 Pokemon that resist grass, and I think they're both here.
Yeah, so Celesteela and Amoonguss are really his only good options versus Rillaboom, but in fairness, they're both very good options versus Rillaboom. So, Nick is going to have to play his Rillaboom really smart. Blastoise always going to be a threat unless Vaporeon's in the back, but then, it's kind of this chain of things, right? Like, for White Loaf, his plan is he needs to just knock out either all the stuff that scares Blastoise or all the stuff that scares Rillaboom and then start going to town. Whereas Mass has a hard time really effectively sweeping with Celesteela or Gengar or Mega Gardevoir, just because of sort of a speed issue and a setup issue. So I think really for Mass, it's make correct predictions and just swat Nick's threats away with some good bulk and some good reads. And Nick needs to just kind of be the train that's running into Mass over and over again and hope that Mass can't stop it.
Yeah. I don't have much else to add to that. So with that being said,
all right,
should probably get started.
Yeah, let's run it.
Dugtrio starting. Rocks? No, that's an earthquake.
No.
That's a
I understand I understand wanting to do that, to just get chip on it in case it shell smashes. There's probably some calc for that. I don't know. But he does end up getting the rocks anyway, so I guess there's that.
Fire punch. It hurts. That's not Tropius. Hold on.
Wait, that's not true. That's Drudagon. This is also so risky from Mass to just immediately go for the Calm Mind when this thing knows Gunk Shot, or at least can learn Gunk Shot.
Yeah.
And then kind of the classic issue with Chansey, Chansey and Blissey both being in this division, both being on the receiving end of nasty Psyshocks.
Uh-huh. Jolie coming in, gonna click on Volt Switch. Doing a lot of damage. That looks like a Specs, potentially.
At +1 special defense, that's absolutely Specs. Did a ridiculous amount of damage. Nick ultimately decides to sack the Blastoise to get in Rillaboom, and it shows Grassy Seed, which means it's almost certainly an acrobatics set.
Yep. Oh, there's the acrobatics.
And there's the acrobatics.
Clockwork.
Now, nicely for Nick, where Mass this is, I think, his biggest team-building issue. He ran physical contact Steela again, and the Rocky Helmet Rough Skin just chips it down so effectively.
Yeah, in fact, it's down to 14%, and I think, other than the first acrobatics, that's like, it's lost 60% or so of his HP just from, like, chip.
Yeah. And also gave him an opportunity to get his Mega Absol Mega Evolved.
Yep.
Nick goes hard into Rillaboom, and Scald does Scald things.
It definitely does, and I believe he ends up staying in on this as well, if I recall. Nope, Sword Dancing.
Yep,
And
Nick needs to undo his burn, but Mass reveals Ice Beam for the second week in a row, and it's ultimately like, okay, sure. But at this point, Jolteon is so good at positioning, because even though Mungus resists it, again, it's Specs, so it's doing a pretty decent chunk anyway. But also, it's either you Volt Switch and kill something, or you Volt Switch into this, which then goes on to kill something.
Yeah. Mass clicking Spore with a magic bounce.
Yeah, that's the big choke.
Because
I don't believe that Giga Drain kills here,
No,
so it's
it does
not
help
necessarily
though.
relevant. Yeah, but it's a nice thing to do. What doesn't help him win is Sporing on Magic Bounce, which prevents him from going to sleep.
And it looks like
And now
based
this thing's
off that
in.
hit that
Yep.
Mass just took, that Vaporeon is probably a defensive build rather than special defensive.
Yep. And then Sludge Wave comes out, it outspeeds Jolteon, which tells Nick that this thing is Scarf, which means it's going to be only attacking moves, which means Sucker Punch will always kill it. There's no real counterplay, and since this thing is paralyzed, even if it had come in hard, would have just been slower. Killed by Knock plus Rocks, and then Gengar would have come in to die to the same Sucker Punch. So, really, at that point, even though, insanely tight match, really, really close, only a 1-0 for Nick, so just barely climbing out of that.
Yeah.
Mass keeping it so close, so respectful.
Yeah.
Nick
I
looking
think you're
great.
right. I don't know if Mass could have still won at that point, because sure, Giga Drain with the Mungus, but like, how much really would it have done?
Yeah, Absol's not that frail, and Amoonguss doesn't hit that hard, so I just don't think it would have been enough.
Yeah. So, but either way, super close match, like you said. Going a 1-0 for Nick, and the differentials this week are not shifting a lot.
No, 2-0, 1-0. It's just very incremental change. It's all about the actual match count. And for Nick to actually prevail there is so huge. That puts him now at 3-1 going into week 5. His last 2 seasons that he played, he went 2-5 both times. And in both seasons, he lost his first 5 matches in a row.
Yeah.
So Nick has shown a tremendous bounce back in this division, and he's absolutely moving and grooving.
Definitely the case. And it's exciting to see him just move up the rankings like that. And Mass going a 1-3 right now, but still not the end of the world for Mass whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. Mass looking great, keeping his losses really, really close, and then still, getting his fair share of wins. Mass still looking so competitive, still looking like one of the favored playoffs advancers, potentially.
Mass, the ultimate villain of this season?
Maybe. I don't think that's necessarily the script.
No, that's not
but,
the script.
If there's a heel, Mass is a little bit of a heel. And on the note of heels, wrestling term, hey, why don't you transition us over?
Wow, that was a transition right there.
Do not ever criticize my transitions, bro. All you ever do is say, speaking of whatever you just said, let's talk about these teams.
Hey,
he said every single time for every single video.
I'm original and classy. Leave me alone.
Right? You know what? Right now, we're having a tiff, and it's going to turn into a spat.
Oh, no. What's the difference between a tiff and a spat?
I feel like a tiff is like a 5% fight, and a spat's like a 15% fight.
That's insane, actually. So what's a 30% fight? Is that
Oh, that's a row.
That's
a row. No, a brawl is like a 90%. Are you kidding me?
It's like 90%. Gotcha. Okay. Well, speaking of 90%, our next...
Oh my god.
I'll let you have that one.
There's an opening bit. No. So, we have our favorite GTP Woody of the Schaumburg Salamences versus Doodled of the Jobbin Wobbuffets. Took me a second.
Yep. That's a hard one to remember, but we're getting there.
Yeah,
he's becoming integrated.
And we see Greeta make a comeback this week. Copperage is here. Porygon's gonna be here every week, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
So, Cliff Notes version. Story of Woody is that he has been 6-0'd the last 3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
Story of Doodle is that he has not been. Doodle has lost to Mass in an 0-1 Heartbreaker, and he lost to Vincent in an 0-2 really tight good fight.
Yeah.
And he managed to 6-0 Lynn. So his differential actually looking really good already. And going up against Woody, there's kind of, again, we were talking about patterns forming. Woody has been the source of a lot of differential for the people around him. So, kind of in the same way that Firebolt needs to keep it close versus Vincent, Doodle needs to make sure it's not close versus Woody. Obviously, he wants to beat him. That's a given. But to beat him, he really wants to get as much differential as possible out of this so that he does not start falling behind relative to everyone else who has gotten the 6-0.
Yeah, and I'm sure Woody at this point is chomping at the bit to not get 6-0'd.
Yes, I'm sure, Woody, at this point, sometimes you've got to shift your goalposts for what you want to accomplish in a season. Sometimes it goes from I want to win a game to I want to get into playoffs, and sometimes it goes the other way into I just need to get one kill.
Yeah.
And right now, Woody is at I just need to get one kill.
So let's find out if he gets that one kill.
Let's have a look.
Starting off Hippowdon, classic.
Yep. Classic Hippo lead, jumps out into Porygon 2, which is pretty smart. Doodle takes the opportunity to just nasty plot immediately.
Fortunate miss.
Yeah. Excuse me. I wouldn't have done that much anyway, but
No.
Hippo comes back in.
Yep.
Kind of an interesting play to throw in Hippo on this because you definitely get killed.
Yep.
Worth it for the Drowsy, potentially. I mean, he forces this thing out, or lets it go to bed, and he actually does take advantage of this moment to get the belly drum off.
Yeah, and then it proceeds to almost die.
Yeah, lives the Dark Pulse, though. I mean, it's a chunky thing. The thing in front of it is asleep. All you do is click Not Crunch and die to your Rocky Helmet. I understand, again, the want to do that is, I think, based in trying to read Dragapult coming in and not wanting to get caught with your pants down, but there's got to be a mid-ground that hits both,
Yeah. Browses on Excavalier. Not the end of the world, if I remember. Excavalier's really slow already. One Dragon Dance. All right, looking scary. Okay,
Yeah,
no, hold on.
Double Dragon Dance. He wants to kill this Mandibuzz in one shot.
Nope, too much.
Foul play does damage based on your opponent's attack stat, and unfortunately he feeds that foul play kill right to Mandibuzz instead of getting any damage.
Yep. Not doing so much
This
damage.
thing again, yep. Donphan always so threatening.
Very much an MVP for Doodle this season.
Put in a ridiculous amount of work so far, yeah.
Yeah.
Got Barrage down.
Yep. Revealing Sandvale, by the way, and not Sturdy on this.
Yeah, that is very funny. Woody has his own Sandvale on this thing.
We've seen that a lot this season, actually.
Yeah, just grabbing your opponent's field condition and saying, "This is mine now, thank you."
Yeah. Or removing your opponent's field condition.
That's true. That's counterplay.
Yeah.
But you'll notice that this Porygon's actually revealed all 4 moves. It has no damaging moves.
Yeah.
Doodle can just pick what he wants to get the kill at this point.
Running
and,
Trick Room, Teleport, Thunder Wave, and Recover. Woody has no way to deal any damage to Woody's Pokemon.
Escavalier actually reveals Room Service there, which is a very interesting Gen 8 tech. It's a consumable item that lowers your speed by 1 stage when Trick Room is activated. He was running 21 speed IVs.
Yeah.
It was very specifically to outrun some things in some circumstances and then underspeed other things under other circumstances. A lot of thought was put into it. Unfortunately, the para messes up his speed control anyway, so it kind of doesn't end up mattering.
Yeah, but really funny. Really crazy, by the way. I love
it's a
that.
good set.
That's insane. Such a...
I love notching IVs in the middle, like just those rare niche scenarios where it's like, gotta be faster than this, gotta be slower than this. Here's where I land, and you know, with your slow Pokemon versus Trick Room, it's a perfect set.
Yeah. Woody, unfortunately, getting another 6-0, and Doodle taking a nice 6-0 to bolster him up into the rankings.
Great for Doodle. His differential is looking absolutely stellar for a 2-2. Unfortunately for Woody, that differential's got to come from somewhere. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer.
Yes.
Woody goes into his 4th consecutive 6-0, and not looking great for your boy, we'll say.
I wonder if Woody just runs explosion straps next week. Like, gotta kill something, right?
Maybe. Maybe. You know, luck has not been on his side, for sure, but it's obviously been primarily based in an inability to outplay or outprep opponents. And yeah, that... Well, let's just break down the division. I'll take top, you take bottom?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Now, one of the things I do want to say, by the way, this is bound to not be the same. So take this one with, like, this is where it is this week. We do not have those 2 matches still from Aurora and our new player.
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
So it's not entirely accurate. However, next week will be 100% accurate. So keep that in mind when we're listing this off to you.
Do keep that in mind. It's only really relevant in the lower half, though. Your top half, starting in first place, we've got Spoopman of the Heerlen Hawluchas at a 4-0 and plus 12 differential. Bringing up second place, we've got the Loafville Lanturns at a 3-1 and plus 2. In third, we've got Doodled of the Jobbin Wobbuffets at a 2-2 and plus 9. And in fourth, we've got Mass of the Minneapolis Magnezones at a 2-2 and plus 4.
We do have Firebolt in fifth place at a 2-2 plus 3, with Aurora at a 1-2 plus 2. And again, keep in mind, my leadership.
Aurora hasn't played her next game, and neither has our next player.
Do we want to name our next player? Because...
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have the San Fran Furge, Trash Can. I think we said that earlier, actually.
Yes, we did. We brought it up.
So San Fran Furge is in 7th place at a 1-2 minus 8, keeping over the Pink and Persian's old differential. So that gets transferred over when we do have people drop out. They do take over whatever team they replace in their differential and their score. And of course, rounding at the bottom is Woody at an 0-4 minus 24.
Yeah. That's really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no real stitching up Woody's score at this point with kind words and condolences. At this point, you just need to fucking bury the guy. Like, it's not good.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Woody, in a kind of, I don't know, maybe Kafka-esque isn't the right word, but in a particularly horrifying turn of events for Woody, now that we have played over half of the matches, right? We're over the hump. It's week 4. Now there's only 3 weeks left. Since 4 people have 6-0'd Woody, that means the remaining 3 people need to try to 6-0 Woody. Otherwise, you are losing differential that was made up elsewhere. And if you're one of the people who is still really desperate for a playoffs contention spot, and you, let's say, only 2-0 or 3-0 Woody, you are basically going in at -3 differential from the get-go.
Yeah. And here's one of the crazy things still about this division. We've talked about it before at the beginning with how close it is. Nick being in second place at a 3-1 plus 2. Doodle being at a 2-2 plus 9. Like, that's it, though. Everyone's like +4, +3, +2. And then you do have our new player 1-2 minus 8. And they still haven't played yet. But, like, the differential's so close from 2nd to 7th place. Literally can shuffle around. I do know that our new player has not fought Woody, and that is not until the very last week. We don't know how well our new player is going to do. From what I've seen of preemptive potential draft stuff, it's looking a little spicy, but we don't know yet.
Can't cast any judgment, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Cannot say or cast any judgment on that. So, like, if Aurora loses this next week, and new player goes up in rankings, that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. On the flip side, if Aurora does manage to prevail over Trash Panda this week and moves up at a 2-2, and I don't know, like average would be like a 3-0 win, right? You know, in theory. So let's say she does that, that would land her at a 2-2 and +5. That moves her up into 4th place.
Yeah.
So suddenly she's finally back in the playoffs contention. So I think this is either looking like the death of Aurora's run or the birth of Aurora's run.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens this week.
By the way, I think it is crazy. One last thing I want to touch on before we jump off this video. The other divisions are... There are 4 people this season at an 0-4.
Yeah. 3 of them are in the same division, actually.
Sorry,
which
no,
is kind of
5
funny.
people.
Oh, no, it's 5, actually. Yeah.
There are 5 people 0-4 this year.
Yeah, so far. So...
And do check out the other videos, by the way, the ones
brutal.
talk about the other divisions, because they go over who's in what divisions and everything, and one division is looking extremely lopsided right now.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend checking out the Diamond Division recap with myself and Kenneth. That was, especially this week, was really fun, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. And then, of course, I'd also recommend checking out the Platinum Division recap with Aurora and Cabral. There is, similarly to Pearl Division, a player dropout there, which will be covered in more detail in that recap.
Yeah, but I believe that's it for now. Pearl Division heating up, looking kind of exciting. I'm really eager to see, 1, the new player, but 2, Week 5, I think.
Yeah, let me tell you,
so cool.
To be completely honest, dude, I don't think it's heating up. I think it's been hot this whole time. I think right now, again, just the margins are so slim from 2 to 7 that it's still so anyone's game. And I'm really excited to see who rises up.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it's going to be a tragic season for 1 or 2 people that fought so hard, stayed in the green the whole time, and maybe fell out at the end.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to check that out. But on that note, thank you so much for joining us on this recap. We'll be back next week with a lot more details and information on a lot of things, but you'll have to wait and see. Until then, thank you so much. Enjoy the Draft League, and we'll see you next week.
Take it easy.
Goodbye.